The calm before the end. 66 million years ago, the Earth was alive with sound and color. Forests of towering trees covered the continents. Rivers shimmered in the sunlight, winding through vast plains where life thrived. The air was thick and warm, filled with the buzz of insects and the cries of ancient creatures. This was the final age of the dinosaurs, the late Cretaceous period. But no one, not even the greatest of them, could know it was also the final chapter. Across what is now North America, herds of triceratops grazed in meadows, their horns glinting under a golden sun. In the forests, packs of raptors hunted together with sharp eyes and sharper claws. And stalking the plains with earth-shaking steps was Tyrannosaurus rex, the king of predators, a creature of muscle and fury whose roar could echo from miles. Further south, in the lands that would one day be South America, the ground trembled beneath the weight of the titanosaurs, enormous, long-necked giants that could stretch more than 30 meters from head to tail. These gentle herbivores moved in family herds, feeding on treetops, their young walking safely in the center. Above them, the skies belonged to the pterosaurs, the ancient masters of the air. Some were no bigger than a crow. Others, like Quetzalcoatlus, were as large as small airplanes. Their wings cast vast shadows across the land. The seas, too, were alive. Beneath rolling waves swam mosasaurs, enormous marine reptiles that hunted with speed and precision. The oceans of the Cretaceous were filled with life. Ammonites, giant turtles, fish, and predators that had never seen the sky. This was a world overflowing with diversity. Every forest, every river, every ocean was bursting with creatures perfectly adapted to their time. Evolution had shaped a paradise, wild, balanced, and thriving. But in space, far beyond this living world, something ancient stirred. A traveler that had been moving silently for millions of years was nearing the end of its journey. It was a piece of stone and metal, 6 miles wide, a remnant from the birth of the solar system, drifting through the void. It had no mind, no intention, and no mercy. Gravity pulled it toward the blue planet below. Its path was locked, its destination certain. While life on Earth carried on, hunting, feeding, and raising its young, the clock was already ticking. The dinosaurs had survived volcanoes, floods, and ice. They had seen continents split and seas rise and fall. For 165 million years, they had ruled unchallenged. But now, their greatest test was coming. And this time there would be no escape. The wanderer in the dark. Far beyond the blue sky of the late Cretaceous world, in the endless cold of space, a lonely traveler drifted through the darkness. It had wandered for millions of years, a fragment of rock left over from the creation of the solar system. It had seen planets form and fade, comets burn and vanish. Now, its path had changed. Drawn by gravity, the asteroid turned toward Earth. It was 10 kilometers wide, small on the scale of planets, but vast enough to change the course of life forever. As it approached, it gathered speed. Faster and faster it fell, pulled by the invisible hand of gravity. In its final moments of flight, it was moving at more than 20 kilometers per second, faster than a bullet, faster than thought itself. Down below, the dinosaurs went about their lives, unaware that their time was nearly over. In the forests, a triceratops mother guarded her nest. On the plains, Tyrannosaurus rex hunted beneath the morning sun. To them, it was just another day in a world they believed eternal. High above, a faint light appeared in the sky, no larger than a star. It grew brighter with every passing second. Animals may have looked up, sensing danger, but they could not understand what was coming. Then came the sound, a roar unlike any thunder ever heard. In its last instant, the asteroid hit the atmosphere. The air in front of it compressed so fast it turned to fire. The rock itself began to melt, glowing brighter than the sun. In seconds, it tore through the sky and slammed into a shallow sea near what we now call the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The energy of the impact was beyond imagination. It released more power than 1 billion nuclear bombs exploding at once. The sea exploded outward, vaporizing in a flash of steam and fire. Mountains of water rose into the air. Rock and earth melted instantly. Within seconds, a crater 180 kilometers wide was gouged into the planet's crust, the Chicxulub crater. The shock wave circled the globe. Forests, thousands of miles away, were flattened. Winds, stronger than any hurricane, tore across continents. The ground itself rippled like water. Animals within hundreds of miles died instantly. Those farther away were blinded by the light and deafened by the sound. The earth had been struck by its own apocalypse. And then, silence. The breath before the storm. Molten rock, dust, and vaporized sea shot high into space. As gravity pulled it back down, billions of red-hot fragments rained through the atmosphere. Across the entire planet, the sky began to fall. For those who survived the first blast, the real horror was only beginning. The day the Earth burned. The asteroid's impact was only the beginning. What followed was destruction beyond imagination. When the rock hit Earth, it blasted trillions of tons of dust, ash, and molten rock high into the atmosphere. Each fragment, glowing red from the heat of re-entry, began to fall back to the surface. Billions of tiny meteors streaking across the sky. To the creatures below, it looked as though the heavens themselves were on fire. Forests from one end of the world to the other burst into flames. Trees ignited in seconds. The very air shimmered with heat. Flames leapt across plains and jungles faster than animals could run. Creatures fled, but there was nowhere to hide. From above, Earth must have looked like a single burning ember floating in the darkness of space. The temperature on the surface soared. In some places, it rose to hundreds of degrees for several hours. Entire ecosystems, plants, insects, reptiles, were wiped out almost instantly. Rivers boiled. Oceans near the coastlines steamed and turned black with ash. Even far from the impact site, the light from the fires turned night into day, a flickering orange inferno stretching to the horizon. And yet, amid the chaos, a few survivors clung to life. Crocodiles buried themselves in muddy waters, turtles sank to the bottoms of lakes, and small mammals hid deep within their burrows, trembling in the darkness as the world above them burned. For days the earth smoldered. Smoke and ash filled the air. The once blue sky turned gray, then black. When the fires finally began to die, a terrible silence fell. The great beasts, the dinosaurs that had ruled the planet for millions of years, were gone from vast stretches of land. Those that survived the fires faced a world that no longer resembled their own. The air was thick with soot. The ground was covered in layers of ash. Plants were gone, burned to dust. The smell of smoke and death hung everywhere. But the worst was yet to come. The asteroid's impact had thrown enormous amounts of dust, sulfur, and vaporized rock into the atmosphere, enough to block sunlight from reaching the ground. For weeks, the sky remained dim and hazy. Then, darkness spread across the world. The fires had turned day into night, but now, night itself would last for months. Without sunlight, the temperature began to fall. The warmth of the Cretaceous faded into cold. The great forests that had burned now froze. The oceans cooled. Photosynthesis, the process by which plants made their food, stopped. With no plants, the herbivores began to starve. And without them, the predators would soon follow. The age of giants was collapsing. The reign of the dinosaurs, unbroken for 165 million years, was nearing its final breath. But the Earth was not yet finished changing. The long night. The fires faded, but the light did not return. For the first time in millions of years, sunlight could not reach the Earth. Billions of tons of ash, dust, and sulfur hung high in the sky, forming a thick, dark veil. Even at midday, the world was dim, as if trapped in endless twilight. The long night had begun. Temperatures dropped sharply. The heat of the Cretaceous vanished, replaced by a deadly chill. The land that had once been green and full of life turned gray and lifeless. The air grew cold and still. Snow fell in places that had never seen it before. In the oceans, surface waters cooled rapidly. Algae, the tiny plants that formed the base of the food chain, could no longer grow without sunlight. The great marine reptiles, mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, and ammonites, began to starve. On land, it was no different. The last living plants, already weakened by the fires, withered away. Trees lost their leaves, ferns crumbled into dust. The mighty herds of Triceratops and Edmontosaurus, once so numerous they shook the ground, now wandered through barren fields in search of food that no longer existed. One by one, they fell. Predators like Tyrannosaurus rex faced the same fate. With no prey to hunt, the great hunters grew weak. The last of their kind prowled through silent forests, their roars echoing through a dying world. The raptors that once hunted in packs grew desperate, scavenging the remains of the fallen. But soon, there was nothing left to eat. Across the continents, extinction swept like a shadow. Volcanic eruptions, triggered by the force of the impact, poured lava and toxic gases into the air, adding to the misery. Acid rain fell, poisoning rivers and lakes. The oceans grew acidic, dissolving shells and coral. The earth was changing faster than life could adapt. For nearly a year, darkness ruled. Plants, animals, and even insects, the small workers of nature, disappeared. More than 75% of all species on Earth were gone. The dinosaurs, rulers of the planet for 165 million years, were almost entirely wiped out. Only a few bird-like species survived. Small, lightweight creatures that could find shelter and feed on seeds and insects. They would become the ancestors of modern birds. But amid this global ruin, life clung stubbornly to existence. In the deep oceans, small creatures survived near volcanic vents, feeding on minerals. On land, tiny mammals hid in burrows, living on what little remained: insects, roots, and seeds. They were small, weak, and frightened, but they were survivors. And while the long night stretched on, these fragile sparks of life endured, waiting for the first hint of dawn. Because even in the darkest moment, the earth was not dead, it was waiting to begin again. The dawn after darkness. Years passed in silence. The skies, once black with ash and soot, slowly began to clear. The dust settled back to the ground. The long night was ending. Sunlight, faint and pale at first, broke through the clouds. After months, perhaps years of darkness, the first rays of light touched the earth once more. But what they revealed was a changed world. The lush forests of the Cretaceous were gone, replaced by barren plains of ash and stone. The mighty rivers that had carried life across continents now flowed sluggish and muddy. Mountains of burned wood and bones marked where great herds once grazed. And yet, even here, life was stirring again. Tiny green shoots pushed through the blackened soil, ferns, mosses, and the first hardy plants. Their roots reached deep, pulling strength from the earth below. Where plants returned, insects soon followed. Beetles and ants crawled across the ground, feeding on the new growth. Spiders spun their webs in the wind. Slowly, the balance of life began to rebuild itself. In the rivers and lakes, fish swam once more. Frogs croaked in the shallows. Turtles, the silent survivors of the cataclysm, basked on the banks. And from their hiding places underground, small mammals emerged. They were not mighty like the dinosaurs that came before them. They were tiny, cautious creatures, no bigger than rats, covered in fur, quick and clever. While the giants had perished, these little survivors had outlasted the apocalypse by doing what they did best: hiding, waiting, and enduring. With the world nearly empty, there was suddenly space. Room to grow, to adapt, to evolve. In time, mammals spread across the continents. Some took to the trees, others to the open plains. They began to fill the roles the dinosaurs once held. The earth itself healed slowly. Over thousands of years, rain washed away the ash. Rivers carved new valleys, and green life spread again across the planet. But the age that emerged was not the same as the one before. The dinosaurs were gone. Their age ended forever. In their place came a new era, the age of mammals. Tiny ancestors of horses, elephants, and whales began their slow journey through evolution. In the forests, early primates, the first relatives of humans, appeared. The planet that had once belonged to thunderous reptiles was now ruled by quiet survivors. Every breath of wind, every rustle of leaves was proof that life, no matter how crushed or burned, finds a way back. The impact that had ended one world had given birth to another. From destruction came creation. From death came life. And in this new dawn, the seeds of humanity had been planted. Rise of the mammals. The world that followed the dinosaurs was quieter, cooler, and greener. Where once the ground had trembled under the weight of giants, it was now covered with forests, rivers, and new life. For millions of years, the earth healed from the great impact. Volcanoes calmed, the air cleared, and sunlight once again poured freely over the continents. And in this peaceful new world, the survivors of the extinction began to thrive. The small mammals that had once lived in the shadows of dinosaurs now stepped into the light. No longer forced to hide from towering predators, they spread across the globe, adapting to every kind of environment. Some took to the trees, developing strong hands and sharp eyes. Others returned to the water, learning to swim and hunt. Many roamed the forests and open plains, feeding on plants, seeds, and insects. Their world was full of opportunity. Every empty space in nature, every lost dinosaur niche became a chance for something new to evolve. In the first few million years after the asteroid, the mammals remained small. But slowly, generation after generation, they began to grow. Some evolved into the ancestors of today's elephants, great beasts that once again shook the ground as they moved. Others became swift runners, the early relatives of horses and antelope. In the oceans, new forms appeared, sleek and powerful, that would one day become whales and dolphins. The planet itself was changing too. The continents drifted apart, shaping the Earth we know today. New mountain ranges rose and new climates formed. Ice gathered at the poles and the air grew cooler and drier. With every change, life adapted. Evolution, the endless sculptor of the living world, worked patiently. Among the branches of the forests, small, intelligent mammals developed hands for grasping and eyes that could judge distance, the first primates. They lived in family groups, cared for their young, and learned from each other. These were the distant ancestors of monkeys, apes, and much later, humans. The age of mammals, also called the Cenozoic era, had begun. While dinosaurs had ruled the Earth for 165 million years, mammals would now carry the torch of life into a new age. Their brains grew larger, their senses sharper, their behavior more complex. And as the Earth continued to change, so did they. Life was once again thriving, not with the thunder of dinosaurs, but with the quiet persistence of mammals, birds, and insects, working together to rebuild the web of life. From the ashes of one world, another had risen. But the story of the dinosaurs was not forgotten. Their bones, buried deep within the earth, waited to tell their tale. And one day, millions of years later, curious minds would uncover them and begin to piece together the story of the day the sky fell. Bones of the past. Millions of years passed. The earth changed again and again. Mountains rose, oceans shifted, and new creatures ruled the land. By the time the first humans appeared, the world of the dinosaurs was already ancient history, their bones buried deep beneath layers of rock, sealed away by time. But even without knowing what had come before, people noticed strange things. In many parts of the world, they found enormous bones turned to stone, skulls larger than any living animal, teeth like daggers, and footprints pressed into rock. To ancient eyes, these were mysteries. Some believed they were the remains of dragons, giants, or monsters from legend. For thousands of years, these fossils were treated as myths brought to life. It wasn't until the 19th century that humans finally began to understand the truth. Scientists started to study the strange bones carefully, comparing them to living creatures. They gave these lost giants a name: dinosaurs, meaning terrible lizards. The first discoveries came from Europe and North America. Each new fossil uncovered a new chapter of Earth's forgotten history. Skeletons were pieced together in museums, and people came from far and wide to see the bones of creatures that had ruled long before humankind. Paleontology, the study of ancient life, was born. Through fossils, scientists could see not only the shapes of these creatures, but also how they lived. Footprints revealed that some dinosaurs moved in herds. Nests and eggs showed they cared for their young. The marks of teeth and claws told stories of battles fought millions of years ago. But one great mystery remained. What had happened to them? How could such powerful animals, kings of their world, vanish so completely? For more than a century, theories came and went. Some believed that massive volcanoes poisoned the air. Others thought that disease or starvation brought them down. A few even imagined that the mammals had outcompeted them, but no single explanation fit all the evidence. The truth, it seemed, was buried deeper still. Then, in the late 1970s, a father and son, Luis and Walter Alvarez, made a discovery that changed everything. While studying layers of rock from around the world, they found something unusual: a thin band of clay, marking the boundary between the age of the dinosaurs and the age that followed. That layer was rich in a rare metal called iridium, a metal more common in asteroids than on Earth. This was the clue that solved the mystery. The dinosaurs hadn't died slowly over centuries. Their world had ended in an instant, when a rock from space struck the planet and changed it forever. The story written in stone finally had its ending. But that discovery led to another question, one that scientists still ask today. Could it happen again? Fire from the sky. When Luis and Walter Alvarez first proposed their asteroid theory in 1980, many scientists were skeptical. The idea that a rock from space could destroy most of life on Earth sounded like science fiction, but the evidence was impossible to ignore. Everywhere scientists looked, in Europe, in North America, in Asia, they found that same thin layer of clay, the same fingerprint of iridium. It marked a single moment in time, the instant the old world ended and a new one began. If the iridium came from space, then there had to be a crater, the scar left by the impact itself. But where? The Earth's surface is constantly reshaped by erosion, weather, and plate movement. After 66 million years, the evidence seemed lost. Then, in the early 1990s, a discovery changed everything. Geologists studying oil fields in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula noticed something strange deep underground. A circular formation more than 180 kilometers wide. The pattern was hidden beneath layers of limestone, invisible from the surface. When scientists mapped it, the truth became clear. They had found the impact site. The Chicxulub crater, named after a nearby village, matched perfectly with the timing of the extinction and the iridium layer. The pieces of the puzzle finally fit together. This was ground zero, the place where the asteroid had struck. Computer models showed what must have happened. When the asteroid hit, it released energy equal to 100 trillion tons of TNT. The blast was powerful enough to melt rock, ignite the sky, and send a column of debris high into space. Shock waves spread outward faster than sound. Earthquakes and tsunamis followed, waves hundreds of meters high slamming into distant shores. Then came the global firestorm and the long darkness, the very sequence scientists had long suspected. The crater told the story written in stone: the shape, the shocked quartz, the melted rock, all pointed to a single, world-changing event. The asteroid theory was no longer a guess. It was fact. But the discovery also revealed something deeper. Without that impact, the dinosaurs might never have fallen. Mammals might never have risen. Humanity itself might never have existed. The end of the dinosaurs was also our beginning. Scientists call this event the Cretaceous Paleogene Extinction, or KPG boundary. It marks one of the most dramatic turning points in Earth's history, the moment when one age died and another was born. Yet the story of Chicxulub is more than just history. It is also a warning. Because Earth still moves through the same solar system, still crosses paths with asteroids and comets. The dinosaurs never saw their end coming. But we can. The Watchers of the Sky. 66 million years ago, a single rock from space erased the dinosaurs. Today we look to the heavens, knowing that the same threat still drifts above us. Earth has not stopped being a target. Every year, thousands of asteroids pass near our planet. Most are small, burning harmlessly in the atmosphere as shooting stars. But some are far larger, big enough to destroy a city, or even change the course of life once again. These are called near-Earth objects, and they are the reason scientists keep constant watch over the skies. Powerful telescopes in space and on the ground scan the darkness night after night. They track every moving speck of light, mapping orbits, predicting paths, and searching for anything that might one day cross ours. Among them is NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office, an organization dedicated to finding and studying potentially hazardous asteroids. Using satellites like NEOWISE and telescopes like Pan-STARRS, they catalog thousands of space rocks, each one a possible threat. Most are small. Some could wipe out entire regions. A few, like the asteroid that struck Chicxulub, could end civilizations. But this time, we have something the dinosaurs never did: knowledge. Scientists have developed methods to predict close passes years or even decades in advance. They study the shape, size, and composition of these asteroids, searching for ways to deflect them before they strike. In 2022, a spacecraft called DART, the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, proved that it could be done. For the first time in history, humans intentionally changed the path of an asteroid, striking it to alter its orbit. It was a small test, but a monumental step. For the first time, life on Earth had learned to defend itself against the kind of threat that once wiped it out. Yet even with all our technology, the sky still holds mysteries. Thousands of asteroids remain undiscovered, hidden in the glare of the sun or the shadows of space. Every few years, one slips closer than expected. A reminder that our planet is not alone in the cosmic shooting gallery. If a rock the size of the Chicxulub asteroid were to strike today, the results would be unimaginable. Cities, continents, perhaps the entire world could fall into chaos. Fires, darkness, and famine would return, just as they did before. But unlike the dinosaurs, we would have warning. We would see it coming. And perhaps with time and courage, we could stop it. The story of the dinosaurs is no longer just a tale of the past. It is a message written across the stars, a warning from history itself. Legacy of the Lost World. The age of the dinosaurs ended in fire and darkness, but their story did not vanish with them. It was written into the bones beneath our feet, the stones of the earth, and even the life that walks, swims, and flies today. Every bird that soars through the sky is a living link to that lost world. Their feathers, their hollow bones, their sharp eyes, all are gifts inherited from ancient ancestors who once shared the land with Tyrannosaurus rex. The song of a bird at dawn is, in its own way, the echo of the dinosaur's voice carried across 66 million years. Life did not surrender. It adapted, evolved, and began again. From the ashes of the Cretaceous, new creatures emerged, small mammals that grew into apes, and apes that learned to walk upright, build fire, and dream. We, the humans of today, are part of that same chain of survival. When we look up at the stars, we are looking at the same endless sky that once rained fire upon the dinosaurs. The same universe that ended their world gave rise to ours. That truth is both humbling and powerful. The story of the dinosaurs is not just about death. It is about renewal, the unbreakable strength of life itself. Every ending in Earth's history has made way for a new beginning. Every disaster has carved a path for something different to rise. But their story also carries a warning. The dinosaurs did not see their end coming. They ruled the planet for over 160 million years, far longer than humans have existed, and yet, in one single day, it was all gone. We too live on a fragile planet, spinning through space, surrounded by the same cosmic dangers. Asteroids, volcanoes, and the shifting of the Earth's crust. They remind us that nature, for all its beauty, can also be merciless. The difference is that we have the power to understand it, to watch the sky, to prepare, to protect the world that gave us life. The bones of the dinosaurs are not just relics. They are lessons carved in stone, reminders of how quickly everything can change, and how precious every living moment truly is. So when you see a fossil in a museum, imagine the world it once belonged to. Vast forests, endless plains, creatures of unimaginable size and beauty. Imagine the day the sky fell, when that world vanished in a heartbeat. And then, remember that from that same destruction came us, thinkers, dreamers, storytellers, life's newest voice. The last day of the dinosaurs was not the end of the story. It was the turning of a page, from one world to another, from their time to ours. 66 million years ago, fire ended an age. Today we carry its memory. The Earth survived. Life endured. And as long as we keep looking to the stars, learning from the past and protecting the future, the story of life will go on. And so, the tale of the dinosaurs reminds us of one simple truth. Every age ends, but life always finds a way to begin again. From the shadows of extinction rose the spark of humanity, a new chapter in Earth's endless story. The same planet that once belonged to giants now belongs to dreamers, explorers, and storytellers like us, the witnesses of what came before. If the dinosaurs could speak, their story would be one of awe and warning, a message whispered through time. Protect this world, for it is the only one we have. Because one day, far in the future, someone else might walk this same Earth, and look back at us as ancient history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the last day of the dinosaurs and the first dawn of everything that followed. If you enjoyed this story, don't let it vanish like the past. Like this video, subscribe to Epic World History, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story of how our planet was shaped, in fire, in time, and in wonder. Every fossil has a story. Every era has an ending, and every ending is just the beginning.